Welcome to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? That's the Slumdog.
So if you couldn't tell from that beautiful intro, we just handcrafted for you and mouthcrafted.
What are we talking about? That's my favorite video.
We're talking about a man, a specific man.
Yes.
The Monkey Man.
Okay. I thought we were talking about the Bye-Bye Man again. I was excited.
Bro. We should. I've never seen that movie. I could give just as much.
You haven't seen the Bye-Bye Man?
No, I could.
It's one of the 8 worst movies I've ever seen.
I could give just as much positive feedback as you guys did, having never seen it.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So.
Okay, so yeah, hey, we're talking about Monkey Man.
Yes.
Dev Patel's new movie.
It was a movie that.
Only movie.
For my birthday, I saw a trailer for it like a week before my birthday. And I was like, dude, we got to go see this. Just let's get it back out there. Let's get in the theaters again. Let's do this. I know a lot of people go to the theaters all the time, but I was like, we got to do this for my birthday. So we got up with my family. We went. And it was, well, just go ahead and you tell your overall thoughts first. Yes,
right.
good, no,
sure.
whatever.
Okay, so I'm going to give my score up front and then explain it. We save scores till the end. I'm going to do this up front.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing.
So not qualified scale.
Uh-huh.
1 is the best movie you've ever seen. And 100 is the worst.
Exactly.
Movie you've ever seen. And so keep that in mind when I say that I think I've lost it. Hold on. When I think that my rating for Monkey Man is a 49. Okay.
Interesting.
49. So it's almost right in the middle, but I will give it the edge and say I liked it more than I disliked it. And let me tell you why though. This is not a case of it was a mid movie.
Right.
This is a case of the things that were really good were really good.
Right.
And the things that were really dumb were really dumb.
Right. And I'll play off of that. It's not the exact same for me. It's like, I think there was a lot of really good, well done things in the movie that I'm just not interested in. As like when it comes to my taste.
Okay.
So that's
yeah.
So I think our scores are similar.
What's your score?
Because of that. Well, what was the conversion? I have 3 stars on
3 stars, so you'd be in the 40s.
So 40s. Right. So they're close. I mean, I'm not high 40s like you.
Right.
I'm probably like 42.
Okay. So it's still pretty close. 7 points apart is not a huge deal.
And I think a lot of it for me was just because it's like I'm out of touch with a lot of that. We'll get into that. It was really heavily rooted in the Indian politics of over there.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about politics in India.
So I'll get into that a little
tough.
more. So I will say that Monkey Man, I don't know why I feel like we're being so serious compared to usual right now. Like we're being, the vibe is so much more
we really paid
hinged.
attention to this movie though. I don't know why. The movie was more serious than a lot of the movies we
sometimes we talk about movies that are like my favorite movies of all time that I know everything about, and we are not even on subject. But we're weirdly hinged today.
Yeah.
More than we should be. We're going to have to loosen up as we go. Monkey Man was the weirdest. No, I take that back. Monkey Man was weirdest theater experiences.
It'll get funny. We'll talk about the weird stuff going on.
Okay, and
it'll get weird.
Probably get a little politically incorrect by nature. We're going to have to this movie. So, listen, I went into this movie knowing nothing. I did not even see a trailer. I did not see. You saw trailers.
I saw one trailer, the short one. I didn't see the extended nothing. I saw the regular trailer.
I didn't see any trailers because this movie came out the same week as what just
Trolls 4.
It was not Trolls 4. Hold on.
I'm still waiting on that, by the way. I'm waiting on Trolls 4 so I can watch the first 3.
Okay, this is actually where we're going to get unhinged because I need to figure this out. So let's see. Monkey Man release week. Box office numbers. All right, Monkey Man. Box office mojo. Okay, so we got it grossed 33 million worldwide.
Interesting. Really?
Yeah, I don't know. What was the budget? Let's see. All right, but it opened April 5th. Let's look at April 5th. All right, so these are the movies. Oh, Dune. Dune was in theaters. It wasn't. It was a couple weeks after Dune had come out, but that's why.
Oh, was that the second?
Yeah, Dune Part 2.
Right.
And so that's why. this was completely overshadowed for me. I was looking forward to Dune.
And there's no way it's going to live up to Dune.
And other things that were in theaters at the time was the second Godzilla versus Kong.
Which, who freaking cares? We can get into that later.
That's the number one grossing
but
movie.
I don't care. And I'm anyone that matters.
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now that's a real
That's
going to
be...
That's a real who cares.
Is that not going to... You don't think it's going to be good? Isn't that them?
It's out. No, well, they're in it. They brought back... It's the Paul Rudd. It's a sequel to the Paul Rudd one from 2021 or whatever. You know, the Ghostbusters
Well, I'm just
Afterlife.
glad they got away with that women one.
So they did the women one in 2016,
and then they were like, "That never is going to work."
The Paul Rudd one in 2021, and then now it's a sequel to the Paul Rudd one. But this time they brought back the original cast, except Harold Ramis is dead, so they CGI'd him back in with CGI.
Here's the thing: they're all ghosts for a reason.
And Harold Ramis is actually a ghost,
and they should be dead
in this movie. Yes,
it should be done. It's
probably really his ghost in the movie. I don't think it's CGI. Actually,
I think they found it.
No, I think this movie's possessed by Harold Ramis.
Well, if they have the real Ghostbusters, then they're already hunting ghosts. They might as well whip out a camera.
The thing that makes me mad about this is that Ghostbusters is one of my favorite movies of all time. Ghostbusters
I remember watching the first one with you on VHS tape at our grandmother's house. And remember, what was that? Wasn't there like a weird scene with some like a...
There is some...
Didn't he make out with a ghost or something weird?
It's worse than making out, but yes, that's in
there. Well, I think that's as far as I watched because...
So, let me look here on my list. Ghostbusters is my 28th favorite movie of all time.
That's pretty specific.
28.
But
I pulled up my list. That's how I know.
How many movies you got on this list?
101. These are my top 101 movies in order.
Wow. So if we lined this up with like Cruella de Vil, you could give a movie to each Dalmatian. That joke landed.
You can't just declare it to have landed. So
I thought it was good.
No, it was good. It's my 28th favorite movie of all time. It's really high up there.
That is up there. It's
right below Big Trouble in Little China and right above Airplane.
Wow, Big Trouble in Little China would be... Yeah.
It's only 7 spots below The Two Towers. So this is high on my list.
It's like 4 away from Hellboy. That's really good.
Yeah. We should just go through this list sometime.
Yeah, we should do an episode on this.
You should come up with yours, at least top 20 or something like that. All right, so anyway, I love the original Ghostbusters, but this is the thing about Ghostbusters is that it is a movie that came out in 1984 and was very successful. And so a bunch of suits who work in companies tried to make it a franchise. Yep. That's not a franchise. There's one good Ghostbusters movie. You can't replicate it. Even the sequel, Ghostbusters 2, is not even close to being a Ghostbusters
Was it
movie.
fine? I never watched it.
It was fine at best. It was fine. There were parts of it that were good. But the problem is that the original Ghostbusters movie, this is an overused phrase, but it was lightning in a bottle. It was just right place, right time. It was a perfect mix of things came together. The fact that Bill Murray, it was people from SNL. Right, who were jaded and recently off of SNL and just trying to do a comedy. But then people like Bill Murray and Harold Ramis, they were viewing this as a comedy. They were trying to make a comedy movie. But they brought in Dan Aykroyd, who did not think it was a comedy. This is why it's so good. Dan Aykroyd literally believes in everything that's in the movie. Yeah. He's like a ghost hunter in real life, aficionado. Like
I did not know this.
He's super into that's
crazy
supernatural ectoplasm ghost stuff.
So he's like with it.
So he knew that it was a comedy, but he thought he was taking the subject matter really seriously. And Bill Murray does not even care about anything.
He doesn't care about most of the things.
Ad-libs every line in the movie. It's half improv.
I did watch a documentary on that. Talking about how he would go off script almost every other word. And then
on top of that, they wrote a script that was the most ridiculous, idiotic thing to have ever been put to paper. Like the climax of the movie is a Marshmallow brand logo.
Yeah, that's true.
400 feet tall, rampaging.
Which, by the way, everyone knows it's not the Pillsbury Doughboy.
It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which is
does not
a real
exist.
thing at all. I thought it was.
Unless you're Dan Aykroyd, then to you it does exist.
He believes in the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I believed in it. I thought that was a real brand as a kid. I thought for sure I had seen that brand before.
Yeah, like everybody.
I just was thinking of the
We're thinking of the Michelin Man, probably.
Yeah, mixed with the Pillsbury Doughboy.
It's probably his cousin.
Rest in peace, Pillsbury Doughboy. What happened to
and the Michelin
those commercials?
Man? Where'd that guy go?
I guess we just don't see commercials anymore. The only commercials I see are insurance commercials. It's like they're the only companies left that are still trying to advertise.
Well, the commercials I get, I'll pause my YouTube and it'll tell me to go get Wild Wings from Buffalo Wild Wings.
I will say that
I see those ads every
NBA
time.
Season. Speaking of which, I wonder who won tonight. Did that mess up my recording? Am I still recording? Oh no, Apex is starting. Close. Colin, this is your fault.
I didn't know it would start. I was just doing an update.
Well, it started.
Did it ruin the...
No, we're still recording. People are going to hear this.
This is good.
Close the program.
So we're going to run a game of Apex?
Hey, we're good. We're not going to
run
run a game.
while we...
Let's drop Tilted Towers. So,
That's not...
anyway...
Okay.
I don't want to talk about commercials anymore. We can save that.
So what are we going to talk about?
Ghostbusters and why the new Ghostbusters probably sucks. I haven't seen it. I'm just saying
right.
That's the reason why. And then they bring back the old people, but Harold Ramis is dead, so whatever.
That brings us full circle to talking about Monkey Man, I think.
How do we get on that? Oh, we're talking about the week it came out. So that was I was telling you my perspective.
Right.
Not to keep talking. I'll make this quick.
No, you keep talking. This is
your
show, bro.
Monkey Man. It wasn't supposed to be. It's just that people kept moving away, and so I'm the only guy that's on every episode. It's supposed to be a group effort of...
Yeah.
But the rotating cast...
It still is a group effort.
It is. It's a rotating cast.
It's just you're 50, and the rest of us are like 10.
Yeah, right. So I have to be the guy that edits these episodes. Anyway, freaking, I didn't see a thing about Monkey Man because it was overshadowed.
Right.
I didn't know anything about it till you said, let's go watch this for my birthday. And so I made sure I was free. And I was. And so that's when I looked up the plot. Mm-hmm. And I looked it up and I read the synopsis. Not the whole, just the blurb that it gives you.
Right.
And I didn't even watch the trailer. But then I saw, wait, Dev Patel, that's who's directing this. I know that name. Because I thought Monkey Man, I thought this was a horror movie. I thought it was like
I thought it was
based on
be,
the title and the poster.
And then after the trailer even, I realized it wasn't like horror-esque. But it's
like an action movie.
I did think it was going to go full John Wick mode.
And it did.
It did for, like you were saying, for really good sections.
And we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that if we get to it.
So I went in blind, but I read this little synopsis, and I was like, wait, Dev Patel, I know that name. Why do I know that name? And it's because Dev Patel is the guy from Slumdog Millionaire.
Okay. Which I have not seen.
And the premise of Slumdog... So Dev Patel is Indian, obviously. And everything that he's done in his career kind of revolves around that because he became famous partly as the Slumdog Millionaire guy. And the plot of Slumdog Millionaire is that a kid in India who's really smart goes on the Indian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and wins. And then the government or whoever tries, like they think he cheated and they beat him up. And it's basically a movie about how corrupt and terrible India is as a country.
Right.
Which is what this movie's about. Okay, so he's very much like... He's passionate about his homeland and about his culture and his people, but he thinks there's a lot of injustice happening and he wants to speak out against it. I could go into the fact that the injustice that he's speaking out against is just largely tied to Indian culture and because of the religion and things they like the caste system and the society. It's not just this is a cultural issue. This is a society that has needed to change for 2,000 years. Like it's deep seated. So
it's very deep.
Anyway, so he's Indian. He's proud of it. He wants to fight to make India better.
And I'll get into the premise of some of that.
So you tell us the premise of the movie.
Yeah. So to expound on that, I like the way they laid it out. Throughout the movie, you get snippets of his past. Some movies just do a whole flashback. And you're like, you get it all at once. Not this movie. You don't really get the whole story from his flashbacks.
It drip feeds you.
Yeah, it's like Chinese drip.
You don't get it all toward the end of the movie,
right? And you get the whole flashback. Well, spoilers. We'll just go ahead and say that.
Okay, from here on out. Wait, say what you can without spoilers first.
Okay.
So it's a guy in India.
It's a guy in India. You slowly get the flashbacks. And learning from these flashbacks, he's very much has this hatred towards the Indian government for whatever reason. And
it's weird too. It's like
it tells you the reason.
Yeah, but then this is the part that I didn't understand was that you had to kind of understand Indian politics a little because it's not
and
just
it started
the Indian
showing
government
clips
itself.
From real
it's
life
like,
too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like basically what he would view as the right wing of India is who he's talking about. And then there's a character running for president. That's
supposed to be corrupt and all this stuff.
Okay,
and so. That's the premise. These backstories that you get flashbacks set up why he hates the Indian government so much.
He grew up in a small village. He lives in a big city.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a rough background.
He's been doing these underground fights to make money.
That's right. So
that's where he gets his physique and his talent, his skills.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So what does he work a day job? He's not a cook yet. He gets that job in the movie.
He was trying to become just a kitchen dishwasher guy and work his way to be
work
the cook.
His way up.
Work his way up at this fancy restaurant, which was owned by the Indian government.
And we get to see why he wants to do that. We don't know at first. We think he's just trying to get a job. Okay, right. But then at night he moonlights he goes to this underground fighting ring. It's very Spider-Man 1.
Yeah,
it's very Bonesaw.
Yeah,
he goes and he's paid. I think the way I understood it.
Yeah, I think you're correct on this.
Was that he was paid to take the fall as Monkey Man. It's called Monkey Man because he would put on a monkey mask and fight. It's like wrestling. Right. They all have these characters.
He would get a cut.
He was the fall guy
by losing.
Yes, because they're fixing the bets, basically. He's supposed to fall in a certain round, but he's a great fighter. He's good enough to last until he needs to, and then take the fall.
So at this point, all you know is he's doing these underground fights to make money, and then he's starting to get this dishwashing job, and you get little drips of flashback that you don't understand. Well, he gets this dishwashing job, and he talks to one of the cooks, and then he becomes this cook guy, and he's waiting tables, and then he works his way up into some nightclubs that are owned by the same, restaurant chain people. So he can get in touch with these high-up government people.
Building? I think it's all one building.
It's all one thing. Yeah,
like in the same building, it's just different floors, right?
I didn't know if it was the same building. I thought it was like the same street.
Okay, I got that it was the same company, or same conglomerate, but in my brain, for some reason, I was thinking it was literally the same building, and he was just working his way up floors.
It could have been.
I have no idea. Maybe that was my
brain
trying to make a metaphor.
He does all those elevator floors at the very end.
That's the thing, right? Maybe that's why I thought that.
He ends up to one of the most prestigious jobs that you could do when it comes to like waiting tables, like that type of thing. He ends up, working drinks and waiting people at like a nightclub.
I think that now is like you can really say spoilers VIP. And give the plot if you want.
Spoilers. He ends up finding the guy at the nightclub
that he's been trying to get to. He's like a general.
And you still don't even know what happened yet. You see his face before you get the final flashback, I think.
Yeah.
And then the final flashback shows him as a kid hiding in his attic, looking through a hole in the attic floor, seeing down, and this guy's killing his mother because they raided his village when he was a kid.
Yeah, they took everything.
I guess it was like the Indian government's land, and they're like, we want it back, and they were like, we've been living here forever, and they burned their whole village down and killed his mom.
I think they were just seizing it to build.
It was like revolting. It
wasn't even. I think the government just took the village because they wanted to build a highway, probably.
But one guy ended up harassing.
Like the high up general in this whatever. I don't even know what the group is. This is the thing. I don't know if it's a real group.
Right.
Or if that I don't understand enough Indian politics to know about, or
at this point it was cutting back and forth from real videos in the streets of India.
But people being harassed. As far as I could tell, there wasn't it seemed to me to be a generic right wing militia that had government ties, and then the guy on the top guy is not not the main antagonist of the most of the movie. That's who he's going for, is the top guy, I don't know.
The president. The one who was running for president, remember?
But then, I remember all that. But then the right-hand guy, general, is who you're talking to most of the time.
That's the general. He's the Darth Vader. The guy who killed it, yeah. So, once you find out he killed his mom, then he starts winning the fights as Monkey Man in the night. He stops losing. He starts training. He starts beating the crud out of these guys.
He's doing that early to kind of work his way up in the restaurant.
Right.
He had his boss.
Was he doing that before?
Well, there was one scene where his direct boss, he was like, "I want you to promote me to the club level. But I'm going to make you some money to prove that you can trust me." And he says, "Come to the fight tonight and bet on Monkey Man on this round."
And then he won. So then he started...
No, he didn't win. He just told him what round he was going to go down in, so he could bet on it.
Right.
So he wasn't blowing his cover yet. He was just helping make money.
So then he started to win, and he started using these slum fights as a training. And then what was next? And then he started winning the fights. I can't remember what happened next.
Honestly, what even? Who cares?
Yeah, he started
there's
getting
a lot
better.
of stuff that happens, and then
he's basically now he's strong enough to go after this general dude.
And then he goes, so this is where the movie gets really good.
Yeah. And it gets really weird for a minute.
It gets really great, and then it falls off a cliff.
Really bizarre. And then it gets good again.
So so spoilers for this movie and for also Kill Bill, because I know I'm going to reference this at some point. And maybe spoilers for John Wick.
I haven't seen Kill Bill.
You got to watch Kill Bill.
I'm not qualified to be on this podcast.
All right, so this is where things get weird. So long story short, he tries to kill the guy. He doesn't succeed, but he's really good at fighting, and he kills people, and he's fighting his way through this club, and then fights the guy, but the guy lives,
and then he ends
runs
up
from the police.
Running from the police, and he finds his way to
So wait, hold on. First, let me say this. Positives first. Everything at that.
That's a positive.
Everything at this point was amazing. Like the choreography, the action scenes,
beautiful.
It's so well done. It's like John Wick, but I actually think the cinematography of this movie is way better than John Wick.
I think it's better.
John Wick is very simplistic in a lot of ways, but in like it's fight.
Well, and also in this movie, you feel with John Wick. I love it. We talked about this in one of the other episodes I was on. I love it because it's emotionless. He knows why he's trying to hurt everybody. And he just kills everybody. That's it. And he's angry. That's all the emotion that's happening. And this movie does emotion way better.
Yeah, there's depth to these characters.
Because he's very distraught about everything. And and even some of the other characters we're about to mention they have reasons.
He's a three-dimensional character, not like John Wick.
Right. John Wick is like, you kill doggy, me mad.
Me mad because me love doggy.
Me murder.
It's a caveman movie. I love that movie, though. I think I have John Wick ranked the same thing as this on Letterboxd. I think they're both 3 stars for me.
They're both
for
very, very
opposite
similar
reasons.
movies. Yeah.
Like the things that one does well, the other is not as good at, and vice versa. So, okay, another thing about Monkey Man. The cinematography is great. One thing that bugged me is he overuses, like, everything in this movie is shot in, like, very shallow focus, shallow depth of field, like, you feel claustrophobic the whole time.
Yeah, and I think they did that on purpose. It is on purpose because it's India.
The camera's shaking all the time. Your close-ups on everything, everything except what's right in front of you is out of focus.
It's supposed to make you anxious because he's so anxious the whole time.
But I wish he would save that to use it for the high-pressure moments.
Yeah.
But the whole movie's like that.
It's overdone a little.
That's all. It's not bad. It's like all beautiful. The movie looks beautiful. But it was just, I felt like, at some point, I kind of want to see his surroundings, But you never, it's like,
you can't. Well, there's not really surroundings in India. It's
and that's buildings. The thing. It's to convey how crowded everything is, and it feels that way. Okay, so
he runs from the police.
He runs from the police, and then he escapes, and he is on the verge of death, and he wakes up in, I don't know how else to say this, a village of trans people.
Right, predominantly. There's people that aren't.
Some other, so it's like an island of misfit toys from, I'm not saying that in a derogatory way.
No, but it's similar. Okay. I understand. It's a vibe check. It's the vibe.
The vibe of the island of misfit toys. Okay,
because, and I'll explain.
Go ahead. I'm going to Google what they're called.
Because they don't, in India, obviously it's not like America. You can be whatever you want here in America. You're going to keep your job and nobody's going to try to kill you for it. At least for the most part. But like in India, the government is like pretty harsh to people like that.
So, okay, here we go.
So these guys are essentially
in India, just like in
outcasts.
pretty much any South Asian country or Middle Eastern country or African country, there's way less room for sexual,
flexibility.
Sure, let's call it flexibility. The things that we see in the West that have become huge the past 50 years, right? They
don't have a tolerance over there.
Right. And so he ends up in a village of what is, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but Hijra?
Yeah.
Hijra people, which are transgender, intersex, or eunuch people who live in communities and follow a kinship system known as Guru Chela.
Right.
So this is according to Wikipedia.
Right.
I looked this up whenever I watched the movie. Okay, so this is like a people group, the Hijra. They're just basically transgender people.
Right. But they can't live.
They can't really survive
because the government's
society.
just going to slaughter.
So they come together, they live in small communities, and the government, people pretty much leave them alone as long as they stick to themselves.
Right.
They're just outcasts. But the weird thing is that this is in the middle of, what city does this take place in?
I have no clue.
New Delhi? I don't know any Indian cities. It's in a giant Indian city, but this village is like in the middle of the city. It's just like it's like
an uncharted jungle-ish area.
Like one block. That's overgrown.
I think it's just like a block away on the outskirts. Is what it felt like.
All right, but it's like overgrown, but it's
close.
Definitely in the city.
Like
it's
near.
Like, there's buildings and everything. And then he meets a trans person who has all this whole spiel about Vishnu and Shiva and
this is where I'm lost too. I know nothing about religion in India.
So I do know quite a bit about Hinduism.
Yeah,
but basically he would anyway. It's a whole thing.
Stop being so qualified.
This is interesting. I just was glancing at the Wikipedia page. Hijras are officially recognized as a third gender in India. Their identity goes back to ancient Hinduism and evolved during the Delhi Sultanate in the 1200s. So this is what's weird is they're not like in Hinduism. They've had a category for this, I guess, for a while.
Right.
And so this is the weird thing is because I can't, this is where my lack of knowledge of Indian social and like social issues and
Social
politics comes in.
constructs, yeah.
Like, that I was reading this and I was like, okay, so they've had a category of hijra, which is just like transgender people or sexual, eunuchs or people with weirdness.
Yeah.
They have a category for that and they've had it for like 1,000 years almost. And so they've been in society. And so is the point of this movie, because, okay, I guess for this to make sense, I got to say the rest of the plot. He teams up. This is all I can say. He teams up with the rest of the village. They help train him and nurse him back to health. And then there's a Rocky montage where they're training with him. And then he has an army of trans ninjas. And they're the trans Avengers.
Here's the thing.
And they
learn
karate and they help him take down the bad
Well, I think
guys.
they already knew it or something. They didn't even show them learning.
I don't know,
They
dude.
just showed up.
This is where the movie, for me, like up until this point,
They
movie
showed up
was,
in the purple, shaking their hips with the Gugas and stuff.
up until the
and
point where
knives. And they slaughtered dudes.
up until he woke up in the trans village, this movie was like a 4.5 stars for me. It was like a 20 or a 15.
Yeah.
Like I loved it. I was like, this is like an amazing action movie.
Yeah.
And then people, people are going to say the social issues are the whole point, whatever. I don't know.
And they are. And we talked about that after the movie. What was it, the director? Or the writer?
The writer.
The writer said he picked this people group because it's...
Yeah, but
it's
that's what's weird.
Makes sense
so
right now.
The trans people are not the point of the movie. He could have picked any oppressed group, but he picked them because he thinks they're oppressed right now, and he wanted to have an oppressed group be the group that nurses him back to health and helps him take down the bad guys. So then from this point on, I've never seen this in a movie before, but there's an army of trans ninjas that help him take down the government.
They messed some kids up. I'll tell you that. It was cool, though.
Yeah, they fought well. So, okay. But this is what the weird thing
Probably
is to me.
because they're all men.
Is the point, is him picking them to say the Hijra have always been underrepresented or always been oppressed in India and that needs to change? Or is it to say that he thinks that there's a growing right-wing movement in India right now? It seems to be that. Because he's like, look at this, what's happening to India.
Right.
There's these people trying to take over this political party, these whatever, the bad guys in this movie. And maybe that they're just anti-Hijra, even though Hijra are a part of Indian culture for 1,000 years. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is. I'm not Indian. I don't know which thing
I don't
that
get
is.
it.
I don't get it.
But because of my lack of knowledge of that, I didn't read into it that deep. I was just like, oh yeah, these people are just like these people are outcasts,
and so he's
and so
them.
they get murdered in the streets, so they just left town, and then they're outcasts. They train them up, and they're like, hey, we hate the government too, let's do it. And so like I really paid attention to the fact that they were trans a lot less, but I do get it because it's like, especially now, so many things come out in the media and movies. It's like, here's more of this in your face, and it's like,
right.
Not that I.
Well, that's the thing at first that annoyed me. That's the thing that annoyed me is, and I don't care. I don't like. So in movies today, all the time, and in TV, it's like you get stuff shoved down your throat, and it's overrepresented,
right,
to an extreme.
And
degree. And at first, I saw this and I was like, oh, they're just trying to. It's just another case of that. Like they're adding in trans characters for no reason.
Right.
And then it was weird because like you said, it's almost like the plot centered around them more than that. It wasn't just that they threw them in, but then at the same time, it's like I still don't agree with the fact that they're putting that in there.
Right.
Or that is a focus. But then reading interviews with Dev Patel, he seemed to just pick. The way he phrased it was weird. It seemed like he just picked a people group at random that he thought was oppressed, and made them a central
and that's
plot point.
After I heard that I thought it was weird too, because like they were written in, like they were thought of from the beginning of the movie. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, it does. And then like. But
here's the thing, and
this is why it confuses me, is because you and me have no concept of like. We don't have a background of understanding Hijra as a people group. Like, is that a well-known thing in India? It sounds like it is. It sounds like that's just a thing everybody knows about.
No idea.
But I'd like.
Is it like the type of thing that's like you're playing in the streets and your parents are like, oh, don't go over that wall. The Hijra over there.
live over there.
Right? Is it like that, or is it like, oh, you just have a Hidra living down the street at a house?
And that's
I don't know anything.
If I knew that, that's a great point. If I knew that, I would understand this movie better.
Right. But see, like I said, I'm able like, of course I disagree too. Like, you know, the whole
Right,
trans and
right.
LGBTQ
I think the
in
thing
general.
too-
But I tend to separate that somehow when I'm watching secular movies because I know they're not coming from the same
They're not
perspective
coming
as
from
me.
the worldview. Well,
No,
and
they're
I
coming
get
from
that.
a very
I think
secular view.
It's almost different when it's just depicting it as this is a thing that exists in the world because it is.
Yeah.
Like
That's all this was to
so
me.
like The Office has a major gay character. Has
Yeah.
Oscar as a gay character, and there's a lot of plots that revolve around him being gay and jokes that revolve around
Jokes,
it.
yeah.
It's never ever preachy or trying to
Make me gay
make
or
you
anything.
or even make you accepting of gay. It's
Right.
just a character. There are there are people in the world
That are gay.
that do that, and so
And he's just a character. Exactly.
And they
That's
treat him
exactly
normal.
how movies
And
should do
that's
it.
what they should do it. This felt different to me because he is trying to make a point, but at the same time, he doesn't seem to care specifically about that issue. It's very
Right.
strange. But then
It is
also,
weird.
like what you said about, I feel like I would understand it better if I had any concept of
Yeah,
Indian
and I have
culture
zero.
whatsoever.
Zero.
If I knew whether the Hijra are like historically oppressed people or if they're just a common people that he thinks is becoming oppressed today. I don't
Right.
know. Whatever.
Right.
Because anyway. Anyway, the movie ends, spoiler alert, he goes and kills the main bad guy.
Well, he
And,
dies too.
He dies too. Everybody dies in the end.
It was a pretty climactic. I mean,
It's very well made.
it was a very well put together movie. There was a vision in mind, and it was crafted.
I think this was Dev Patel's first movie too, like
Really?
directing. Yeah.
Directing, that's cool. I will say the ending, he did kill, you know, everyone he intended to, so it was satisfying in that aspect. But it was not like the kill you wanted, you know. He didn't like swing in with like machine guns blazing. It was kind of like he just kind of faced him, and there was a little bit of a tussle, and then he got stabbed, and he's like, and then with his last breath, he killed the president. So it's like, you know, I was expecting some more punches to be thrown and stuff like we saw earlier in the movie when he swept an entire building of army people with his trans army. It's like, and then that just was kind of gone, and then it was him one-on-one with the president. I remember thinking like, it's about to be a crazy fight scene, and it really wasn't. But, you know, whatever. It is what it is.
The end of this movie, he felt. Dude, you got to watch Kill Bill. I don't know what else to
I
say.
know that's in the Tarantino thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I need to watch all his
Whenever you
movies.
said you hadn't seen it, I almost said, "Are you kidding? It's the best Tarantino movie," but it's not. But I think that about all of them. Like
Doesn't he consider there's Kill Bill
1 and 2? He considers
and he
it
considers one movie, and it's like 4 hours if you watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
How long? Yeah, I think we should do that sometime. That'd be fun. We should do it live.
1 is definitely better than
On
2,
podcast.
but it's only because it has the benefit of being the first one and setting everything up. 2 drags a little because it's bogged down by having to wrap up what the first one set up.
Is there a different cut together that Tarantino does?
No.
It's just literally play them back to back, and that's the whole movie.
Yeah. So he considers them one movie just because for convenience.
Right, watch them together.
Well, no, because he wants to only make 10 movies.
Oh,
Like that's his
right.
thing. He's
and if he counts that, he's done.
If he counts them as separately, he's done.
Yeah.
He considers them together because he wants to make one more movie, and then he's always said he's only
Right.
going to make 10 movies. Which actually, it's very interesting because his 10th movie got announced. It was going to be called The Movie Critic, and it was going to be about a movie critic in the 70s, and it had the plot laid out. It had like Brad Pitt was in talks to be in it, and all these people it was
I didn't
casting.
hear about this at all.
Yeah, it was like the script was done. It was in production. It was starting pre-production, and everything was going. And then like a month ago, he canceled it.
Why?
Nobody knows. I mean, the assumption is that he just isn't satisfied. He's probably
He's very
panicking like
much
this
like
is going to be my last movie. This isn't good enough, and so
That's
he just
a Tarantino
canceled it.
move.
And then I think it'd be hilarious if, for the rest of his career, he just doesn't make. He just keeps announcing movies and then
That'd be
canceling
so
them
good.
because he doesn't think they're good enough,
Yeah.
and then he just dies, and he only has 9 movies. Except he really has 10 because Kill Bill 1 and 2
Yeah,
are
and that's
different.
the whole joke.
That would be hilarious. And
And then
also,
if you play Kill Bill Volume 2 backwards, then it
here's what I think
says it.
Once Upon a
actually
Time
his
in
10th
Hollywood, his 9th movie,
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is, in my opinion, his best movie.
I didn't watch that with you, did I?
I don't think so.
I don't think I did either.
It is, not only is it, so we said that Ghostbusters is my 28th favorite movie ever. I'm pretty sure that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is at like 32. I think that it's like right behind.
That's
It's
like right
there's
there.
only a couple movies in between. I love it. And I think it's his best movie. He thinks it's his best movie. He talks about that in interviews. And it's like a love letter to everything he loves and all his influences and everything that made him who he is.
Yeah.
So I think part of him just wishes that had been his last movie. And he's regretting, like, why didn't I save that and do another one in between? So I ate it on a bang instead of making my best movie and then having to make a crappy follow-up.
Just make a 10th movie and say you did it before that one.
Or just keep making movies. Nobody wants you to quit, dude. You'll be fine.
But he's also trying to do like the whole.
He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be a George Lucas.
Remember but I'm talking about like when the Seinfeld show ended. When Seinfeld
he wanted to end on top.
Jerry was like,
he's like, I want to end while I'm on
top. We're
top.
not making another season. They were like, yeah, this is your best season yet. You're grossing this much.
They were
and
the
he was
number
like,
one
no.
show on television. He said, no, we're done.
And the freaking
that's exactly
they were like,
that's what Tarantino's trying to do because he thinks if he hangs on too long, he's gonna.
Well, if he thinks he's on top now, just quit.
But then the thing is, though, I don't know if he's right. I think he's right. I think he should stop at 10. I think that's fine.
Because he has some. I mean, according to certain people, some crappy movies, right?
There's a couple that people don't like. Nobody loves The Hateful Eight. I think it's really good. I mean, it's still a great movie. He doesn't have.
Didn't he have that
movies.
one weird one though? Like with the. Let me look up Tarantino movies. You should pull that up for me.
I got you. Jamie, pull that up. Here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
So I'll read them to you in order.
Yeah, there's the weird one I'm thinking of.
Here we go. So, Reservoir Dogs was his first movie. It's great.
Okay, people
Pulp
like
Fiction.
that one. People like
Pulp
that
Fiction
one.
is the one people love the most. Jackie Brown is one that people don't necessarily like.
That's the one
as
I'm
much.
thinking of, I think.
But that's a great movie too. Kill Bill 1 and 2. Death Proof.
Death Proof is one that people, all of them. It's the one I'm most excited to see, actually.
The Kurt Russell. Yeah, it's great, but it's also
sounds insane.
It's weird and short, and it's definitely I think probably on the lower end. Really? And then he did back to back. He did Inglourious Basterds and Django Unchained,
which are probably
those are the most
talked about.
And those two and Kill Bill are like they're not my favorites.
And nobody likes Hateful Eight, you said? That's great.
No, a lot of people do. They're just people consider it as good as like Jackie Brown or Death Proof. It's one of the three that aren't talked about as much.
Right.
Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained are perfect movies, and they're like there's nothing wrong with them. And then Hateful Eight, which was good. I think it was. I mean, it was still great. It just wasn't as good as the rest. And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I think is his best.
What's Jackie Brown about?
It's a girl who works as an air. She's a hostess, and then she makes a lot of money.
Cool.
It's a crime movie. She smuggles money from Mexico into the U.S.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of Death. I'm thinking of Death Proof.
Death Proof is the Kurt Russell one.
Yeah, I'm thinking of those two for sure.
Oops. And that's a cool movie too. Okay, anyway, the point is that maybe he's right and he should stop at 10 because too often people hang on too long and they start making bad movies. But then on the other hand, you have guys like Martin Scorsese or Steven Spielberg.
Or talk about and not even movie, just movie making. It's in the movie industry. What's his freaking name?
John Williams.
Yeah. He scores for everything and he's still scoring and it's all amazing.
Well, that's the thing. Like Martin Scorsese is still making movies, and he's ancient, and his eyebrows just keep getting bigger. And
Harrison Ford is still acting somehow.
And Martin Scorsese, like Killers of the Flower Moon, came out last year, and it was my favorite. It's the best movie of the year. It's amazing. Yeah. So like people can still do it.
Yeah. As long as he stays sharp, I think he's got this.
But I really like the idea. Like he likes the idea of having a set 10 movies. It's a good round number.
He's very anal like that.
Yeah.
Like he's very...
it's like bands that are like, we're going to do 4 albums.
He wants to fit everything neatly in a little box.
It's going to be neatly, and we're going to have our legacy cemented.
With
the problem is he messed that up by having a movie split into 2.
Yeah. So he shouldn't have split it. Just, you know?
Well, the studio's not going to release a 4-hour movie. So.
Well, they technically did on 2 discs.
And a year or 2 years apart.
Well, whatever.
Anyway. I don't know how he got on.
So all that being said, that brings me back to my final Monkey Man point. He does not wear that mask
enough.
More than like maybe 4 collective minutes.
If you watch the trailer, you will be greatly
because you'll see 4 minutes of him wearing the mask in the trailer, and that's what you see in the movie. Well, how long was the movie? 2 hours or something?
I don't remember.
4 minutes of mask wearing. He even put it on, and he was about to go rip some people up.
To call it Monkey Man.
He put this mask on after, and he was about to go beat these people up, like when he attacked the army single-handedly, and he just took it off.
Speaking of taking things off,